Hi, I am Gabrielle Anderson, and I'm the curriculum manager at Spark Y. I'm here with Abigail Peters, a curriculum and training apprentice, and we are talking with Elyssa Eull today, who works at California Street Farm, to learn a little bit more about urban farming. Welcome, everybody. Elyssa, do you want to start by telling us a little bit about California Street Farm and your role there?
Absolutely. Thank you. My name is Elyssa Eull, and I own and operate California Street Farm in Northeast Minneapolis. It is a diversified vegetable and flower farm. Everything is grown on about a third of an acre of rented land in the Botano neighborhood of Northeast. And everything is grown in a low to no-till system using no chemicals and sold at the Northeast Farmers Market, at a farm stand at the farm every week, and to a number of CSA shares. So there's a lot going on and a lot grown in a small space there.
Okay, thank you. We are wondering how you entered this field and what your career path has been like.
Yeah, I would say I began to be interested in farming when I was in school. I was studying to get a bachelor's of arts degree. I ended up studying biology and international studies. And in my international studies courses, I studied a lot of like political science and economics and just like different topics about the world. And a lot of times we would be studying agriculture and food and like how food gets around the world and our food system. So I became really interested in food, and it really struck me how far everything seems to travel. It will be like grown somewhere and then shipped somewhere else across the world and then processed and shipped back. So I think from then on, I knew that at least I wanted some experience learning from small farmers, because I felt like that was, a way that we could decrease the carbon footprint of our food system. And a lot of people have been working on that. So I started working on a vegetable farm, I believe back in 2018. So I've been working on different vegetable and livestock farms around the country for the last, I would say, 7 years. So I first worked at a veggie farm, learned that I liked it enough. I signed up for a certification program through this place called the Farm School in Western Massachusetts. And that was a year long where I learned like many different things about farming, livestock farming, fruit farming, veggie farming, all sorts of things. And then from there, I took an apprenticeship at a horse-powered vegetable farm, and that was a year long. And then I moved back to Minnesota and worked on another veggie farm, and then ended up finding this opportunity at California Street Farm. They were some previous farmers had started the farm, and they were looking for a new farmer to transition the business to. So that's where I've been, and I've been running California Street Farm for 2 years now.
Okay. Would you say that you've mostly worked at urban farms or more rural before California Street Farm?
More rural. I would say that like pretty much all of my experience before California Street Farm has been rural. But I would say the knowledge transfers, like it goes both ways. A lot of the basics you learn, and there's just kind of like specific things that are different, situational things.
Great. Now that you're in this position at California Street Farm, what does a typical day in the life look like?
Yeah. great question. So it's different depending on the time of year. Like right now, this is kind of like where my season starts over again. So I would say like this November through January, I'm working on the computer. I'm doing things like this. I'm talking with other people and reconnecting with mentors, and planning for the next year. So that means I'm looking at my finances. I'm making a budget, I'm purchasing equipment I need to purchase. And the biggest thing I'm doing is I'm creating a crop plan for the next year and buying seeds. So I'm deciding how much money I want to make, and then making a crop plan that will allow me to make that money. So that I can do the things that I want to do. Like this year, I'm excited. I really want to bring on an employee. So that will be fun to do that. So then February through, I would say like March is mostly seeding. So that's like seeding and continuing to plan every day. So still a lot of computer work. And then maybe I'm starting to get out in the field. I start to plant in the hoop house in March. And April through May is heavy work in the fields. So pretty much every day I'm out in the fields, prepping beds, getting things ready to transplanting plants as much as I can. And then my market starts mid-May. So I actually sell plant starts as well. So I'm growing those in my greenhouse along with my starts for the farm. And so I sell those in mid-May. And then my regular veggie and flower markets start at the beginning of June. So then basically June through October, I'm harvesting 3 days a week. So 3 days a week, I wake up and I harvest pretty much all day long. I have a market on Saturdays, so that's 1 day a week. And on Tuesdays, I pack CSA shares and deliver them. So that's 1 day a week. And then usually in the summertime, there's only 1 day left over for field maintenance. So I get to do all my weeding and trellising and transplanting in that 1 day. So things get pretty packed, and there's plenty of evenings that are left over that I am working. So in the summertime, I'm usually working about 60 hours a week. So Sundays are my day off.
It sounds like you need a lot of like business skills in addition to the planting and harvesting, all of that. And I didn't realize that it was all you before. That's pretty awesome. What would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
That's also a good question. I would say, well, now that you heard my whole schedule, you can understand that it's a lot of work, and I'm right at the beginning of it. For me, I would say I'm just starting. So, right now it's just me. I did actually hire my sister about 5 hours a week last year. She's like my marketing person. She helps me with Instagram and answering emails and stuff like that. But I would say that the hardest part is, at least right now, is balancing it all and not working too much. I think that like farms have this kind of effect where the work is never done. There's always more to do. And I would say like the type of personality I am, I'm like always trying to get everything done. And ultimately I need to set boundaries so that I am not working into the evening, and I save my Sundays for rest because I don't have any other days. So I think like finding this balance that feels good, that I'm not working too much and I'm figuring out how to pay myself enough money that I feel like I'm living a comfortable life. That's the hardest part, and then trying to keep my mental health in check while I'm working this, job. So I think just like the balancing of it all is the toughest part.
Those are definitely quite a lot of challenges, given especially how much you work. Um, sorry, within that, what is the most rewarding part of your job?
Yeah, I would say the most rewarding part is kind of the like flip side of the having to balance everything myself, is that like I get to choose what my schedule is. Like working for myself is something that feels, you know, like there's a lot of stress involved with it, but there's also a lot of freedom. And I really enjoy being able to decide like what I value and have that influence my schedule and how I spend my time. That I would say is extremely rewarding. And I can also like value, I value relationships and connecting with others. So like I make sure that every winter I can like sign up for a course and like meet other farmers in my area and learn from others, because that's really important to me. So I think having the flexibility to like decide where my efforts and my money goes feels really, really good.
The next question is, what changes to your field do you predict will take place in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a great question. I had to think about this one. So I always kind of hope that there's this like increase in demand for small scale and local food. So that's like, I hope and predict that that will continue on, that there'll just be more demand for local food that like, you know, basically is like contributing less to climate change. But I hope also and think that I think what I'm seeing now is that there are more opportunities and more grants available through like the federal government and the state and different nonprofit organizations for small farmers and like emerging farmers, like women farmers, queer farmers, farmers of color. Like there's seemingly more opportunities for folks who are like historically underserved in the field. So that feels really good to see that. And I like predict in like the next 5 to 10 years, there'll just be like more of those opportunities available and more monies from the government, because the federal government has been subsidizing like cash crops like corn and soy for so long, and it doesn't like work for our system because it's not actually food. So I'm excited to see, even if it's a small change right now, that there's money going into these areas. And specifically with urban farming, there's these new urban farming offices that have opened up in cities across the country due to federal funding. So I'm really hoping that there's just like more resources available to farmers like myself and all of you. So yeah.
Great. So kind of to wrap it up, what is one piece of practical advice that you would give to someone starting out in this field?
Yeah, I would say the best piece of advice that I would give to other people starting in this field is to find mentors who are in multiple different stages of their careers. So finding mentors who are, if you're looking for, if you're looking to see if you're interested in vegetable farming, for instance, like finding mentors who can mentor you, who are maybe just a couple years into their career, mentors who've been doing it for, 7 years, mentors who's been doing it for 15 years. I think like farmers at different stages of their career have different pieces of advice that can connect with you in different ways and like help you kind of like see the arc of like what your career could look like. I think sometimes like people who've been doing it for a really, really long time are super wise, but you might have a hard time connecting with what they have to say just because they started this so long ago and their experience in starting their career is going to be a lot different than yours. But they have really good advice because they've been doing it for so long. So I think that like people at different stages in their careers have different things to offer. So finding those mentors is really important. And I would also say like work for others, and like work for others to build up those initial like base of skills. But don't work for them for free. Like make sure there's plenty of jobs out there that are paying like decently. It can be difficult to find a job that pays well, but like definitely don't work for free. There's also unfortunately like unpaid internship and apprenticeships out there, and no matter what you're doing when you're farming, it's work, so you should be paid. And you can learn a lot through just like working for other people.
Thank you. Good advice. Those are all of our questions for you. Was there anything else that you wanted to share before we wrap up?
I don't think so. Thank you for
Okay.
the great questions.
Yeah, thank you for your great answers.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that if anyone is interested in visiting a farm that's like California Street Farm, if you're interested in vegetables or growing outside, definitely reach out to me. You can share my contact information with the folks who are watching this video.
Thank
I
you.
am always happy to host future farmers on the farm. So I do a lot of different like field trips and stuff, and people come and check things out. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, and you're not too far from SparkY headquarters, so
Yeah, that's great.
easy access. Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.